When OpenAI launched ChatGPT, the world was taken by storm. Within weeks, ChatGPT had garnered over 1 million users. But behind this revolutionary product was one company providing the crucial hardware to make it all possible: Nvidia. Today, Nvidia is a constant presence in the news, and its stock has become a favorite among investors. But it wasn't always this way. Just a few years ago, Nvidia was a name mostly recognized within the gaming community. But the journey from a tiny startup to the tech giant it is today was far from easy. There were moments when Nvidia teetered on the brink of bankruptcy. This is the story of how CEO Jensen Huang led the company from the edge of collapse to becoming a $2 trillion Silicon Valley giant. But to truly understand the magnitude of this achievement, we need to go back to where it all began: Nvidia's early days. The story of Nvidia is a tale of overnight success, 30 years in the making. It began with 3 young engineers brought together by fate, all cut from the same cloth. Chris and Curtis were engineers at Sun Microsystems, while Jensen worked as an engineer at LSI Logic. Their paths crossed through a shared project, forging a bond that would shape the future of technology. Jensen Huang, now Nvidia's CEO, reflects on their first meeting.
I met Chris and Curtis. They were at Sun Microsystems. I was at LSI Logic. So we were all from the workstation industry, and all we had ever worked on were Sun workstations, Valiant workstations, and things like that. Very few companies had the ability to build their own chips, with the exception of IBM, really, at the time. And so Sun was venturing into building semi-custom chips for their computers. Chris and Curtis were building chips at Sun Microsystems, and I was the assigned engineer to work with them from LSI Logic.
This collaboration, born out of necessity, laid the foundation for what would become Nvidia, a company driven by a shared vision and technical brilliance. As time passed, the 3 engineers, Jensen Huang, Chris Malachowski, and Curtis, wrapped up their collaborative project. Jensen returned to LSI Logic while Chris and Curtis continued their work at Sun Microsystems. However, a major turning point came when Sun Microsystems decided to shift focus, and the architecture Chris and Curtis had worked so hard on fell out of favor with the company. Chris and Curtis, no longer aligned with Sun Microsystems' direction, found themselves at a crossroads. They decided to leave, driven by a desire to pursue something different. However, they lacked a clear vision for their next move. They were considering starting something new, but were uncertain about what that might be. Amid this uncertainty, they reached out to Jensen, hoping he would bring fresh energy and insights. However, Jensen was initially reluctant, as he was thriving in his role at LSI, enjoying the stability and success that came with it. Despite his lack of enthusiasm, he agreed to join their brainstorming sessions. In his words, Jensen recounts,
Chris and Curtis reached out to me and asked me if I would like to leave LSI Logic and join them to build a company. And first of all, none of us knew what company we would build, and I told them that, I wish them well, they're going to do great. I was gainfully employed and really happy doing what I was doing.
Despite his reluctance, Jensen agreed to meet with them, though he wasn't keen on making a major career change. The trio would frequently gather at Denny's, where they would drink coffee, work, discuss their ideas, run out of inspiration, and then head home. But it was during this period, around 1993, just as the PC revolution was beginning to gain momentum, that they saw a new opportunity. Jensen goes on to explain,
This is now 1993. And so we were excited about the PC revolution. And we thought, okay, well, what application would we bring to the PC and what would enable as this computer becomes a consumer computer and goes into the home? And what would you do with it? Well, the one thing you would do with it more than anything in the world is play games.
At the time, PCs were just text terminals with no graphics or multimedia capabilities. Jensen, Chris, and Curtis saw an opportunity in 3D graphics as a way to transform PCs. However, they faced stiff competition from established companies, but despite the challenges, they believed in the potential for a breakthrough that could redefine the PC's capabilities. The crucial decision for the trio was whether to enter the crowded chip market and bet on a 3D graphics chip for gamers, an unproven and niche market at the time. Despite the crowded chip market and the uncertainty of a niche gaming market, Chris, Curtis, and Jensen remained undeterred. They believed in their vision to revolutionize the industry. By early 1993, Jensen made a pivotal decision.
Towards the end of 1992, beginning of 1993, I said, okay, Chris and Curtis, I'll go do it with you guys. February 17th, my birthday in 1993, was my first day of work.
The next phase was finding investors. Jensen approached his former boss at LSI Logic, Wilfred Corrigan, who connected him to a potential investor and even pitched on his behalf. This crucial support helped secure the initial funding needed to launch their venture. In a modest office at a strip mall with a small team of around 20 people, Nvidia embarked on its journey. Tasked with revolutionizing a new industry, they began from the ground up, focusing on creating the NV1 chip, their pioneering product. However, the NV1 product faced significant challenges. Its high production costs and the attempt to solve multiple problems beyond 3D graphics led to disastrous results. The product saw over 98% returns, and despite the considerable investment in hiring and research and development, the company faced substantial losses. Jensen Huang describes the NV1 as a Swiss Army knife, a promising technology but ultimately a terrible product. Jensen Huang reflects on the NV1, saying,
When you pull it out of the box, it actually comes with these dongles that make it feel like an octopus. You need all these things because you have to connect the whole computer to it.
While the failure of the NV1 chip was evident, there was a silver lining on the horizon. Nvidia was also developing the NV2 in collaboration with the video game company Sega. While in the midst of developing the NV2, Nvidia faced a shocking setback. The architecture they had initially chosen, which seemed promising, proved to be fundamentally flawed. Jensen Huang recalls,
The architecture we chose was clever at the time, but it turned out to have been the wrong architecture completely. This is 1995. Microsoft had come out with Windows 95, and the API called DirectX is the architecture that everybody else uses except us. We had never even implemented a graphics architecture like DirectX before. And the rest of the industry, now some 50 companies, are all over us. And so the question is, what do we do? If we had finished that game console with Sega and fulfilled our contract, we would have spent 2 years working on the wrong architecture while everybody else is racing ahead in this new world that, quite frankly, we kind of started. On the other hand, if we didn't finish the contract, then we run out of money. And so I was confronted with a situation where we would finish the project and die, or not finish the project and die right away.
Nvidia found itself at a critical juncture. The first chip had failed, and the second was on the brink of disaster. This moment of crisis presented a daunting choice: continue with their existing project in hopes that revenue might sustain them, or abandon their contract, discard their architecture, and start from scratch. Jensen Huang reflects,
This existential moment for our company was pretty difficult. Heated discussions among us to try to figure out what to do. The team faced a decisive crossroads that would determine the future of Nvidia.
After the failures of the NV1 and the NV2, Nvidia faced severe scrutiny from investors. By this point, the company had been in operation for about 3 years, and doubts loomed large about its ability to achieve escape velocity. Mark Stevens, one of the investors, recalls.
After the failure of NV1 and then after NV2 sort of being abandoned, we were very concerned as investors. At this point, we're probably 3 years into the company, something like that, and it wasn't clear if Nvidia was ever going to sort of have escape velocity. One of the things that Jensen, he said this for many, many years, was, we're only 30 days away from going out of business. Because we were burning cash and developing these graphics devices, you needed some of the best hardware and silicon engineers in Silicon Valley. And these folks do not come cheaply, especially when we were competing with Silicon Graphics.
As a result, there was deep concern over whether Nvidia would survive this precarious period. With failure looming, Jensen had to act swiftly to save the company he had worked so tirelessly to build. In a desperate attempt to survive, Jensen reached out to Sega's CEO and made an unthinkable proposal.
So I went to Sega, and to the credit of their CEO, Irimajiri-san, I told him, our circumstance is that if we finish this game console for you, our company would be out of business. And quite frankly, I think that this architecture that we would build for you would be the wrong architecture because the world is moving towards this other approach called inverse rendering, inverse texture mapping. He asked me what I'm asking him to do, and so I told him that although there's no reason for him to do this, I would like him to let us off of our contract, relieve us of our responsibility of fulfilling the contract, but pay us in full. And they got absolutely nothing out of it.
Days later, Sega's CEO called Jensen and delivered the news that would save the company and give it the lifeline it desperately needed.
I'd like to help you, and your request is hereby accepted. We will be paying you the $5 million. I hope this provides the lifeline you need.
Sega's decision to pay Nvidia $5 million, despite having no obligation to do so, was a crucial lifeline. It provided the company with the funds needed to survive and pivot towards their new technology. With only one chance to get it right, Nvidia knew their chip had to be flawless. But how do you build a perfect chip on the first try? It was an unprecedented challenge, Jensen recalls.
Traditionally, creating a chip involved multiple iterations, designing, testing, fixing bugs, and repeating the process, often over a year or more. But I told my team, we get one tape out. If we need more than one, we don't need it. We'll be out of business.
Even as Nvidia embarked on this final, high-stakes attempt, the outlook was grim. The company's survival was no longer a question of if, but when it would falter. Achieving success on the first iteration was virtually unheard of in Silicon Valley, adding immense pressure to an already perilous situation. With everything on the line, Jensen rallied his team with a clear directive. With only one chance to make it count, he insisted that every aspect of their work be completed in advance. The team plunged into months of relentless, high-pressure work, driven by the knowledge that their survival hinged on this single, critical endeavor. As the clock ticked down, Jensen was informed of a company called ICOS, which had recently gone out of business. They had a rare and crucial piece of equipment, a sophisticated emulator that could make or break their project. Desperate, Jensen managed to secure the last available unit from ICOS, a stroke of fortune amid the chaos. Now, with their future on the line and the pressure mounting, the team faced an anxious wait. Would this critical piece of equipment help them achieve their goal, Or would their gamble come crashing down, leaving their hopes and dreams in ruins? The outcome remained uncertain, hanging in the balance as they pushed forward into uncharted territory. With the emulator in hand, the team set to work, their nerves taut with anticipation. The nights grew longer, filled with the hum of machinery and the anxious whispers of exhausted engineers. Jensen, unwavering in his resolve, kept the team focused, but even his genius could not dispel the ever-present shadow of uncertainty. As the final tests approached, the air was thick with suspense. The team held their breath, their future hanging by a thread. And against all odds, Nvidia achieved the seemingly impossible. The chip, Riva 128, not only passed but exceeded expectations, marking a resounding success. This groundbreaking chip set new standards and would go on to shape the industry in the years to come. In the months that followed, the Riva 128 sold millions of units, propelling Nvidia to new heights. This success enabled Nvidia to release future chips at more than twice the speed of their competitors, solidifying their position as a leader in the industry. At this point, the true genius and leadership of Nvidia's CEO, Jensen Huang, came to light. Mark Stevens, one of the company's early investors, had this to say:
In times of crisis is when real quality CEOs are on display. And this was a time when we, as investors and board members, discovered that Jensen was really unique in the way he managed a crisis.
This new technology, now known as the GPU, was pivotal for Nvidia's future and yielded immediate results. With GPUs, video games grew more innovative and popular. Nvidia went public in 1999, and in an ironic turn of events, Microsoft, whose architecture had nearly derailed Nvidia earlier, chose Nvidia's GPU to power its new project, the Xbox. The success of the GeForce carried Nvidia into the mid-2000s, but as with any groundbreaking company, competitors eventually caught up. While Nvidia had established itself as a major player in the 3D graphics market for PC games, its dominance started to wane over time. The PC market's growth was slowing, and Nvidia faced stiff competition from Intel and AMD. Concerned about being confined to the PC gaming market and constantly competing with these giants, Nvidia realized they needed to explore new, untapped markets. Having pioneered the GPU, a programmable device adaptable for uses beyond gaming, Nvidia was poised to venture into new territories where their innovation could shine once more. And in 2006, Nvidia transformed its GPUs, expanding their capabilities beyond gaming, enabling them to handle applications such as molecular dynamics, seismic processing, kinetic reconstruction, and image processing. At Stanford, students recognized the potential of the new GPU and set up a GPU server for early AI deep learning tests. The results were impressive. Training neural networks on GPUs was up to 100 times faster, allowing for thousands of tasks to be processed at once. Jensen Huang observed that researchers in Toronto and New York were making similar advances. This convergence of discoveries suggested the emergence of a new computing approach. However, the biggest risk in pursuing the AI market was reminiscent of the challenges Nvidia faced at its founding. In 2012, 2014, and 2015, the market for AI chips was virtually non-existent. And investing R&D dollars into AI at this stage meant risking money on a market that might never materialize. In his words, Jensen recounts,
This is the type of risk that, unless you've survived building a startup, you're probably allergic to doing. And the reason for that is at this time, we're public, we're a multi-billion-dollar company, we're actually successful now. And, we've dodged several life-threatening challenges. Nobody wants to derail the company. They want to defend the company and protect the company.
After 2 decades of dominance in the PC gaming chip market, Nvidia faced a crucial decision: continue with their established expertise or venture into an emerging, unproven market with vast potential. Jensen Huang, true to his innovative spirit, chose to invest in what was essentially a $0 business at the time. He took a bold leap of faith, convinced that this new direction could be transformative. Nvidia's decision to commit to AI computing marked a turning point that would not only redefine the company's trajectory, but also influence the entire technology landscape. Reflecting on this monumental shift, Jensen Huang remarked,
This was a major pivot for us. We were adding costs, hiring new people, and acquiring new skills. It diverted our focus from our core business of computer graphics and gaming. The shift was all-encompassing, affecting every aspect of the company. It was a comprehensive move in a new direction.
The transformative impact of AI computing propelled Nvidia on an extraordinary journey, ultimately leading it to become a $2 trillion powerhouse. The company's evolution highlighted its remarkable ability to innovate and lead in the ever-evolving tech landscape. Let us know your thoughts in the comments section below, and don't forget to subscribe for weekly dives into the world of corporate leaders. Hit the bell icon so you never miss a story.